Okay, so in this video, I'm gonna run us through how to solve this problem. This is a LP transportation problem, and most of you have read it. So I'm not going to go through the question, right? The focus for this video is how to generate a sensitivity report and interpret your sensitivity report to answer the questions that come with this problem, right? So we have a couple of sensitivity analysis questions right here, and we're going to focus a lot more time doing that. If this video is too long, I might put it in a two-part series. So part one might be getting the sensitivity report set up and understanding what it is. And then part two will look at tackling these questions, right? So I've already done, so let me quickly go here. I've already created my model. Objective is to minimize transportation costs. The decision is to decide on how many phones to be transported from each plant to each wholesaler in order to meet demand while minimizing the transportation cost, right? We have our decision variables here, and we have the objective function. You should be familiar with all these by now. Constraints, typical transportation problem constraints would be demand of each wholesaler and the production capacity at each plant, right? We express all these in mathematical expressions. And then we also include a non-negativity constraint for the decision variables. Remember, the decision variables are here. So we have to make sure that all these are positive, which is also implies non-negativity, right? So now that we've done that, let's quickly move to our Tecno LP solution. So I'm still in Google Sheets, right? So this is basically what the solution is looking like. I'm going to just delete this. I'd already run it, right? So when you create your model, the solution should look something like this. I'm going to hide this and explain why I have this up later. Right, so your solution should look pretty much something like this, right? In Google Sheets, you can't generate a sensitivity report, right? So what we've done is we've generated a report for you for the questions for the formative, so you can use that report that we've given you to interpret. But for those of you who have Excel and are interested in knowing how to generate the reports, there are a couple of caveats, and let me quickly run through it. So the first one is when you go to data and you go to solver, like you typically solve any transportation problem, you're going to set your objective, which is this. We're trying to minimize that. And then you put in the rest. I'm going to pause the video, and then when we're back, I'm just going to quickly show you what you need to do in terms of setting that up. Okay, so I've added my objective function. I've said that I want to minimize that cost. So the total cost, I want to minimize that. I've included my decision variables, and I've included my constraints in terms of the capacity and in terms of the demand. Now notice that I did not include the integer constraint, right? So I'm going to show you what happens when you include the integer constraint. So I'm going to add one more constraint. So basically I click on add. I'm going to add this decision variable should be integers. So I hit OK. This will be cancelled. So I have my integer constraint now over here. Now when I run the model, when I click on solve, you'd realize that it solves something for me, but I do not have a sensitivity report. Right, so let me go back to the dialog box. Let me take out that integer constraint. I'm going to delete that. Right, and I also have to make sure that I'm selecting simplex LP as my solving method. Right, when I do this, you realize that I now have a sensitivity report, and when I click OK, it solves for me. So you realize that our total cost is 8.25 million, and we have values in our decision variables, right? When I do that, I'm presented with a sensitivity report. So this is what a sensitivity report looks like, right? So we are going to look at Google Sheets, because I've just copied everything here into Google Sheets. And then we're going to look at how we can interpret that, more specifically how we can use the sensitivity report to answer the questions that we have.